questions from anyone on anything, and you will see there's a microphone. And I would ask please that you wait to get the microphone, because anybody who might be hard of hearing, even if you think you've got a really loud voice, there is a hearing loop in this room and it does help them. So please use the microphone.
We don't have minor injury in Fareham. We have got community hospital in use. Is there any plans to utilise community hospital?
Yes, very much so. Fareham has a very nice community hospital in Salisbury Green, which opened a few years ago to great fanfare with Princess Anne coming and cutting the ribbon. And it has no beds, so an interesting sort of hospital concept. But what we really need, and it's underused, to put it bluntly, it's a very nice building without being sort of cluttered up by patients, which is a rather sad state of affairs, particularly when we find places like QA under great stress. So we do want to see the community hospital used more, and we did persuade the health authorities at the time to reserve more land next to it for possible extension to the hospital. So it's doing what it does well, and that's essentially consultant appointments, MRI scanning, ultrasound scans, phlebotomy and blood taking services. And what we don't have in Fareham is a minor injuries unit. We lost elderly care beds when St Christopher's sadly closed, and we lost maternity beds when Blackbrook closed. And we would like to see all those three things, minor injuries unit, older people's beds and maternity beds, provided at the Fareham Community Hospital. And we are bringing whatever pressure we can to bear on the, what they call it now, the clinical commissioning group for Fareham and Gosport to be able to do that, because we do look rather enviously at Gosport and what they have, with a much lower population than Fareham. We've got 112,000, Gosport's 80-something thousand. Now, I know they had the Hasler effect, and they were almost given whatever they wanted because Hasler was closing. But we need similar facilities in Fareham. We're working to do what we can to get them. Even something as simple as a Red Cross medical loans depot. A room was built in the hospital to house that. 3 years later, it's still not there. We're meeting the Red Cross in a week or two to try and sort that out. So we do want more to happen there. Minor injuries is absolutely one of the things we want. Lady at the front.
Going back almost to the beginning, you talked about the dogs now coming under the Borough Council. The police used to have a dog pound for stray dogs. Where do you put your stray dogs?
We make use of the Ark at Stubbington, and we used to use, there was Hound Cottage when it existed, the Animal Sanctuary in Titchfield as well. So we can place them, that's not a problem.
And how long do you keep them?
As long as we possibly can. We're not into destroying dogs. We want to get them rehomed and rehoused, but we do have a responsibility, of course, in terms of nuisance dogs to get them off the streets.
And if I can get in with one quick question, do you have a vague idea of when you might start on the slip road at Junction 10?
Roughly. Roughly, we're looking to see the scheme. The design of, there are 3 different designs for the Junction 10 scheme, and they exist. There is a preferred design now. That's now being worked upon, and Fareham Borough Council may even be promoting that scheme to make sure it happens in conjunction with the developers. We want to see it provided as soon as possible. The government wants to see it provided as soon as possible, which is why they provided funding for it. So we really need to be getting on with it. But the block is the organisation that now is known as Highways England. It's not that they're trying to block it, but they are a department which is very difficult to work with, and we are working with them now to get that scheme designed, get the planning application in. As I say, the funding is there, so we really want to get on with it as soon as possible. So we want to be getting on with that within the next few years. It's not something that we want to see in 10 years' time or 15 years' time. We want to see that opened within 5 years, not 10 years. But it is a big scheme, a very big scheme to produce. Right, any more over? This side, yeah, I'll work around the room, don't worry. Yes, yes.
On a rather smaller scale than some of the projects you've been talking about, can you tell us what, if anything, is happening to the site of the old fish and chip shop in Trinity Street? It's been an eyesore for about 5 years, right opposite our rather nice garden of reflection.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's not our only eyesore as well. We also have, of course, the old Highlands pub off Highlands Road too. The chip shop, you know, the owners can hold the land as long as they want it. They will put in a planning application when they feel like it. It would be, I'm sure it would make a good residential scheme there, but it is for them to come forward and say, you know, this is what we want to do. We want to develop it. I think there have been some talks with the planners that we really would like to see it got on with, but unless a site actually becomes in some way dangerous or infested, then unfortunately we can't actually do anything to force someone to build on it or clear it or anything else. But I do agree with you, it is a mess, and particularly when we've got that lovely park just opposite looking out at it. So we'll work with the owners to achieve what we can, but the ball is absolutely in their court. Gentleman at the end. Sorry, yeah, we'll do you, sir, and then you, and then we'll come to the back.
Yes, all this you've thought about all these wonderful new jobs today, how are you going to get the workers down there? You can do what you like to Newgate Lane, but all the time you've got to look at the bottom left of the viaduct, you're wasting your money.
So it's a very good point, and of course Daedalus, I think the gentleman was asking about how we're going to get people to Daedalus. One, I've given you a couple of statistics I think this evening. Another interesting statistic relates to the people of Gosport. Gosport has the lowest density, the lowest percentage of its adult workforce with jobs that work in Gosport. Over half of the people in Gosport of working age have to come out of Gosport every day to get to work. So I think that it's very positive. If we can provide 3,500 jobs on the Gosport Peninsula, which of course are open to Gosport residents to be able to take, we might even, with a fair wind, be able to see some of that congestion reduced. Because at the moment, as I say, over half of the adults of working age population in Gosport, they're not unemployed, but they can't get jobs in Gosport because there are no jobs in Gosport.
Yeah.
So that's one answer. Can you let me answer the rest of your question?
Having spent most of my life in the aviation industry,
Yeah.
you're not going to suddenly bustle up 18,000 people that can do a job in the aviation industry.
No, you're right. And of course, it's not just aviation, it's aerospace, and it's marine, it's advanced engineering. These are highly skilled, highly paid jobs, as I'm sure you're aware. And that is why another strand of what we're trying to do is to work on upskilling our existing workforce and make sure they get, because we've got people with qualifications in this part of the world, in South Hampshire. Generally, the qualifications are at a lower level than the rest of the South East. And of course, the more decent jobs you've got and the less you've got in the way of a workforce with the skills to do them, the more you're sucking people in from outside, pushing up the need for housing, pushing up the commuting on the roads. So it is, the point you make is very, very important. We don't only need these jobs, we need the people locally that can do them. That's why we've worked with the County Council and the Skills Funding Agency to build a college there, which is training people in aerospace, aviation and marine. 900 students now on the site at Daedalus learning those skills, hopefully to be able to do those jobs. And in terms of the getting people there as well, of course that plan I showed you of various road schemes, you know, Newgate Lane is a bottleneck to get people down. Newgate Lane and Peel Common, that is at Daedalus. The Stubbington bypass, you know, if we can get the planning permission through and the funding for that. These are all ways of getting people in and out of Fareham and Gosport and getting them to Daedalus. So you know, I'm not going to suggest it's an easy answer, but those are the various strands to what we're trying to do to make sure that local people can take up those jobs at Daedalus by training them, by getting in fledgling businesses onto the site, building the innovation centre, putting in basic things like gas, electricity, broadband, water. None of those were on that site. So it's a big investment. Fareham Borough Council, over the life of the enterprise zone of Daedalus, which is about 20 years, will be investing £50 million into that site. So we expect to see a dividend out of it. And if it helps Gosport as well, I think that's a good thing. Gentlemen there.
Yes, so regarding Woodward, can you tell us where the exact boundaries are? Is there going to be development right up south of the M27, right up to Kiln Road?
No, there'll be no development south of the M27 at all. So none at all. So Fareham Common will remain as
the
Fareham
green
Common.
belt right the way
Yes.
through to Huntley.
Yes, that's right.
So it was reported that it was only going to be a 15 metre grass verge between Street and Huntley and the Royal Point Reservoir.
As I say, that land, Fareham Common, will remain undeveloped. And we need, and it's another piece of the infrastructure package, getting Fareham Common into the hands of Fareham Borough Council, so we can make sure that that's exactly what happens to it. So it is within the boundaries of Wellbourne. You can see you've got a little map there which show it, but it is zoned as open space for Wellbourne.
Little map, which was circulated, that's development right up to Kiln Road,
Yeah, well, as I say, Fareham Common will be undeveloped,
was Fareham Common the south of
being
the
all that
M27.
land south of the
27.
M27 between Kiln Road and the M27, yes.
That's good news.
Right, and to the back, the man with the camera.
It's just a quick one on some of the numbers you've given this evening. You say £300 million for the infrastructure in Wellbourne.
Yes?
Yeah? If it's £300 million for Wellbourne, which is £6,500, isn't it?
6,000 pounds,
Six
not
thousand.
6,500.
Yeah, okay, 6,000. I went to the presentation on the A27 improvements yesterday, and if I remember rightly, that's going to come to about 15 million.
About 20, I think.
About 20
Around
million.
all up, yes.
So you're saying that for that little bit of a dual carriageway, we're talking